E o Inside Xbox direto da BGS 2015, dessa vez para falar de um jogo que eu tô quase nada aguardando, que é Rise of the Tomb Raider. Tô com a Meagan e com o Michael, que são da Crystal Dynamics, né? Eles vão bater um papo com a gente, mas antes de falar disso, eu quero mostrar um negócio. Olha que legal. A Meagan. Ela trabalha na Crystal Dynamics, mas ela é cosplayer. Olha que máximo isso aqui. Ela fez um cosplayer de Gears of War. Ela disse que vai fazer do Gears of War 4 já, tá? Muito legal. Eu perguntei pra ela se ela começou trabalhando com jogo ou com cosplay. Ela falou assim, não, é tudo a mesma coisa. Aconteceu ao mesmo tempo. Muito show. So, guys, thank you so much for your time. And I think you should talk a little bit about the Tomb Raider. What's going on with Lara this time?
So this is Lara's first great tomb raiding expedition. After the events of the last game, she took a year trying to find answers because she saw something that she couldn't explain at the end of the last game. It changed her worldview. And she hit dead end after dead end until she found a clue in her father's research, and that clue leads her to Syria, where the prologue in the game takes place. And she's in Syria looking for, the final resting place of this immortal prophet. So we won't get into spoilers there, but that eventually something that she finds there leads her to Siberia, and that's where the majority of the game takes place. And she's looking for this lost city of Kitesh. And everything's kind of tied together by this theme of immortality and again, trying to find those answers and explain what she saw.
Great. So, Michael, this is the 11th title in the franchise, right? Am I right?
We consider this to be number 10.
10, okay. So, in the 6th one produced by Crystal Dynamics?
So this is solely an effort on Crystal Dynamics' part, partnered with Microsoft for publishing.
Okay. So, how hard is to create new content on such a huge franchise and still amaze the players?
It's a huge responsibility, but one that we really take seriously. So you have to look at the 20-year history of the franchise. You have to look at our fans. You have to look at what our core audience is playing. And we really take all of those things into consideration when we're making the game.
I want to know, how can you create something without changing too much? Because if you change, people will say, oh, this is not Tomb Raider, blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, you need to innovate. How is it? How to balance it?
That's $1 million question, but,
okay.
But one that we have spent a lot of time with.
Mm-hmm.
So we look at what the core experience is for discovering something. What does it mean to explore and find ancient and epic spaces that no one's ever seen before, hundreds and hundreds of years old? That is a core experience we want our players to have. That comes in the form of the tombs. We want that to become not just the new tomb, but some of the old stuff from the old series, right? People really enjoyed that. And then we look at it from the lens of our new reboot. What does that mean? So that means it needs to be deadly. Have those traps, deadly guardians too. We also want to make sure that there's a nice layer of history that ties into the main story. And then of course, the puzzles. We want them to be multi-chambered, and we want them to really test the player's mental capacity. So those elements bring into light what we really expect Rise of the Tomb Raider to have, which are the tombs.
So great. You are keeping secrets about the history, of course, but can you tell us where in the world Lara will be and how many places should we visit?
Yeah, so the two primary locations that you can play in are Syria and Siberia, and they're really nice because they offer very distinctive, different experiences. But even though the vast majority of the game takes place in Siberia, there's a lot of diverse landscapes there. So, there are the snowy mountains, which are really incredible for those, high-octane, action-packed moments. But then we have areas, this geothermal valley, which is a really lush valley that has trees and wildlife, and I like just standing in that area and taking in the ambience and listening to the birds and seeing the animals go by. It's really teeming with life. And so there's a lot of diversity, and not just in the natural environments, but also because there's layers of history. There's Mongolian history there, there's Byzantine history there, there's Russian history there. So there's a lot of different landscapes and experiences to discover within those places.
And Michael, compared to the last game, what changed in the combat system?
So what we've done with the combat system is we've really allowed players to make more choices. And we've done that by expanding upon the AI abilities to understand where Lara is and for the player to understand that as well. So, for example, we've added something called Glimpse. So if Lara makes a distraction, the enemy will go and investigate that distraction.
Okay.
And in the old game, they would know right where you were after that.
Okay.
But in this game, they will fan out and search for you.
Great.
And you have the ability to hide and avoid them if you need to, or if you want. Or you can take on stealthy approaches and take them down from different positions, like in a tree or underwater. So you have a lot more choice in being able to fool the AI. And that's really an important part of the combat side of things this time around.
Underwater, it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, is it possible to finish the game without killing anyone?
You can't. There are going to be scenarios from a narrative standpoint. You are going to have to engage in combat, and I think that there are going to be some pretty fun combat encounters. However, if you are since the game has been around for 20 years, we have fans who are really modern gamers, and we also have fans that just play Tomb Raider, and that's just their primary experience. So they're not overly familiar with shooters and so on. And so we give people a lot of choice, and so they can engage in they can avoid combat and have some non-lethal situations, or they can pick off people, or they can be aggressive. But sometimes you're going to have to engage in combat. So we're trying to give as much player choice and make sure that people can custom that experience as much as possible.
Well, I want to kill everyone. So,
You'll be able to.
we know animals have a huge role in the game, right? So, can you explain how?
So we look at what the animals do for our ecosystem. So they play into the part of the crafting for resources. Animals also play a part in being deadly, as in they're deadly guardians to these tombs, and you'll have to face off against them and use your resources and your skills and abilities to be able to confront these animals and get into the tombs. So animals play into both the RPG elements as well as the tombs and in the combat as well.
Oh, great. So, when the game is gonna be out?
November 10th. Very soon.
Então, se você tá ansioso como eu estou, porque eu adoro Tomb Raider, já fica se preparando porque tá chegando. Então, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Great. O Inside Xbox continua aqui da BGS.